This is Harry Judd for Boxing Social in partnership with Empire Fight Store. We're at the Trafford Centre. It's the open workout for Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank. I'm joined by Matthew Macklin. Happy New Year, first of all, Macklin. What a way to start 2023.
Yeah, this is the first show of the year, and if it goes half as good as what I think it will, then it's going to take some beating throughout the year.
Look, it's a massive fight. It's a massive undercard. Let's talk about the main event first of all. Have you enjoyed the build-up? It's going on for a long time now. I think Boxer and Sky Sports have done amazing work in terms of the behind-the-scenes footage, the documentaries, the gloves are off, etc. I think the way that Boxer built it has been fantastic. It's really, and it all culminates on Saturday night.
Yeah, look, hype is hype, and it's the jobs of broadcasters, promotional companies to promote the fight, to sell it. That said, I don't think you had to sell this fight too much because Eubank's got the crossover name, the casuals know who he is. Liam too, to a degree, but like the hardcore fans would be more probably would know deeper about Liam, how good he is, what he's done, etc. But I think in terms of providing value, because it's a pay-per-view and you come under stick for and that, but this main event fight, if it lives up to what we believe it will do, stars make fights. I know it's an old cliche, but the reason why people always say it is because it's true. Stars do make fights, and personalities and mindsets can contribute towards that as well. And I can't see anything other than a really good fight, possibly a brutal fight. Could be really brutal. So I think anyone who does end up buying the pay-per-view won't regret it.
You talk about mind games just now, and mind games have been such a big part of this fight so far. I mean, Eubank, even Christmas Day, we saw him putting out footage of him sparring, etc. I don't think it's got under Liam Smith's skin. How would you have dealt with it? Would have you been a little bit riled up by it?
What about the 50% thing?
Not only that, but all the jibes and stuff from Eubank and the pantomimes he's been playing. How would you have coped?
I think you've just got to accept that's going to be part of the course. When you're boxing somebody like that, who, theatrics and that he's going to try and get into your head any which way he can. It's fight week now, isn't it? So all the physical training really is done now. Bit of sharp pads maybe this week. To be honest, at this point now, it's probably not even that. They're probably just literally shaking out, making weight. And just but the mental focus now. So now, we've got the media workouts here. We've got a press conference tomorrow. Like that's the last chance for a little bit of psychological warfare. You can't train in it. You can't do anything now to change the fight in training, but you can try and plant seeds of doubt in your opponent's mind. So that's what I expect to happen tomorrow at the press conference.
Is Liam too long in the tooth though for that to be effective?
Yeah, look, I think they're both too long in the tooth for that to affect either of them. But also they're both human. So you don't know what the other person's going to say, and they might just get under your skin a little bit, and one negative thought can find that all you've got to do is plant that seed of doubt in the other guy's mind that that he's going to lose, that you're the better man, and thoughts are powerful.
Is Chris Eubank looking at Liam Smith's last fight, do you reckon, in terms of taking this one? Because Liam, he obviously got the win in his last fight. The guy inadvertently took a dive, but Liam did get caught with a few shots. Wasn't his best performance. Do you reckon Chris is looking at that too much?
I don't think so. These guys sparred each other, and Eubank will have had good nights, and he'll have had some not so good nights, and Liam the same, and they know they're both long enough around to know that you're not 10 out of 10 every time you get in the ring, but you can, and sometimes you box to the level of your opposition. Well, quite often, both of these guys know that this is a fight that if they're not top of the game, they're gonna lose. If Eubank isn't at the top of his game, Liam Smith will beat him. If Liam Smith isn't at the top of his game, then Eubank will beat him. If they're both at the top of the game, which I expect, then who knows?
I love the smile on your face. We're all smiling. It's going to be a great fight. Can you see a knockout in this one?
I don't see someone walking onto a shot and getting done with one punch. But I could see someone. It wouldn't be beyond I can see how one of them would get stopped late on in a brutal fight. I think if I was betting on it, I'd probably go on points one way or the other, because they're both tough and experienced, and if they do get hurt, then I think they know how to weather that storm, you know.
I mean, there's always going to be talk in terms of what's next. I mean, there's obviously discussions in terms of Conor Benford, Chris Eubank, and hopefully Golovkin, ideally for the winner. Do you see that's the path which both fighters will go for Golovkin?
Sorry, say again.
If the winner, obviously, the wins on Saturday night, is Golovkin the only right path, really?
I don't know. I think Liam could probably drop back down and get a shot at 154. So that, I don't know, he'd probably favour that, or maybe he won't. Maybe he'll think, no, I actually preferred fight. We don't know till we see how they perform. If he wins and feels really good at 160, he might think, I should have made this move a while ago. I think if Eubank wins, then that's definitely the fight that you'd like to see him target, and I'd imagine he will do.
Is the weight going to be an issue? You mentioned the weight there. How much will the weight play a factor in this one? Obviously, Eubank's quite heavy for the weight, and obviously Liam's coming up as well. How much of a factor is that in this fight?
Look, I think Eubank he's the bigger guy, isn't he? He's fought at super middle. Liam's coming up. Liam is a spiteful puncher, particularly to the body, but he's not a heavy concussive one-punch knockout specialist. Eubank isn't either, by the way, but he's more of a volume punching. But he hits hard enough. And he's been at he's fought at super middle, hasn't he? So look, he's got the physical advantages Eubank has, definitely. So if he makes it a physical fight, you'd imagine he'd have the upper hand in that. That said, it's not quite as simple as that. As in, like, Liam's very good at the catch and counters. He's crafty. He's compact. He's got a good defence. He's sneaky. But I think if Eubank tries to box you, I think if Eubank boxes Liam Smith, that'll be a mistake for Eubank. I think Eubank's best chance or best tactics should be is to come out and just go to war straight away. And accept this is going to be a brutal fight. There's no easy way to do this. It's going to come down to that. So he may as well do that while he's fresh at the first battle. I think if he tries to box and bag a few early rounds, I think he might lose those early rounds, use a lot of energy in the process, and then by the time he does think, right, I need to change tactics, stand, he's already behind on the cards, and he's already exerted X amount of energy. I think that'll play into Liam's hands if he tries to box. I think if he comes out and has a fight from the start, that's a harder fight then for Liam.
Liam Smith said he's happy that Roy Jones is in the corner with Eubank. Has Chris Eubank Jr. improved since bringing in Roy Jones?
I think he has improved. He's improved his long-range boxing ability. You see him trying to set traps. He'll have probably improved his boxing IQ. But it's horses for courses, and I don't think that necessarily those improvements that he has made with Roy Jones, I don't think that'll better. I don't think that. I actually think the old Eubank it will be the more difficult Eubank to deal with from Liam Smith's point of view.
Quick one on the undercard as well. A lot of negative comments in terms of Joseph Parker, Jack Massey. I was with Jack last week. Had the pleasure of going to the gym. A guy who's been through such a hard time, especially in the last 2 years. But it's his first time moving up from cruiserweight to heavyweight, and what an opponent to move up for your first time in heavyweight. I know there's a danger in terms of this fight with Parker, and we obviously hope that it doesn't go that way for Jack, but it is a real rocky story for Jack, and I agree with Ben as really saying, look, they could have got an American fighter over here to end up fighting Joe and Josie Parker and end up winning in the end. But I think with Jack, we've got a guy from the city, and hopefully if he has a good performance, it brings him back up into the frame, Matt.
I think the upside for Jack Massey meant it was an opportunity he couldn't turn down. Listen, is he the underdog? Yeah, is it a difficult fight for him? Definitely. But he had that loss to Riakporhe. Close fight that was. And if you look what Riakporhe done since, and Riakporhe's a massive puncher. You know, for a cruiserweight, probably hits hard as a lot of heavyweights. Possibly, maybe he hits as hard as Josie Parker. You know, so you know, and listen, Parker's got miles on the clock. He's a little bit shot-worn of late. He's had a few hard fights, and you know, maybe his ambition isn't quite what it was. Maybe we're not getting the best. Maybe Josie Parker isn't the fighter he was. I don't know, but you know, I'm just making observations. He's had a few hard fights, hasn't he? And you know, so you know, Jack Massey will definitely be the more hungry of the two. He's the fresher of the two. You know, it's a hard fight for him, and he's the underdog. But I totally get why he took the fight. It's a massive upside for him.
And finally, on this fight as well, you mentioned this is a hardcore boxing fans fight. Echo Esserman and that fight, that is a real blockbuster, Matt.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I've commentated on a few of Chris Congo's fights. Solid, you know, got a solid fighter. You know, I think he only had that one loss to McKinson, who very awkward. Michael McKinson, especially going in, I think, you know, he was underrated. Very underrated, very awkward. I think he scored the knockdown early. Then Congo was chasing the fight, which you never want to be doing against a tricky, quick southpaw. You don't want to be chasing the fight. So, yeah, Congo, I think, probably made him look at himself, made a few adjustments, and I think I'll probably lean to Congo in this fight.
I know you got to rush off and do Sky Sports. One last thing. Last weekend, it was the week of influencer boxing, the YouTube boxing. You and many other people on boxing Twitter came out and said your piece on it. You know, you said on Twitter, if I wanted to watch clowns, I'd have gone to the circus. Just explain that a little bit.
Look, I got nothing against them fighting, if they want to fight, if they want to do that. And, you know, fair dues to them getting in the ring. In that regard, I do. I've just got no interest in it. Personally, myself, and in terms of, and with reference that they made about the clowns, I'm not talking about them fighting. I'm talking about all the BS theatrics that go with it. It's a load of shite, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like it's like the WWE or something. You know, jumping out the ring and just slagging back and forth. It's like, do me a favour. Do you know? If you want to fight, and fair play to you for getting in the ring. Definitely, you know, I'll give anyone respect getting in the ring in front of loads of people, 100%. But let's not pretend it's something it isn't. Like, you know, these guys as well are like you know, the influencers, the ones who've got the followings. It's like, listen, you see it a little bit. You can say some fights in boxing aren't 50-50. No, they're not, but you're building a prospect who has paid his dues as a class amateur. He's had loads of 50-50 fights in his amateur career to get to where he is, to build up that pedigree. You know, now he's turned over, he's making his moves in the pro game. Yeah, he goes in against some journeymen, then he'll step up and maybe he'll fight some, not journeymen, but maybe gatekeepers, good fighters past their best. And, you know, until he's ready for those big shots. But that's a real career from a real fighter who's been paid his dues and is now learning his trade as a professional. These guys jumping in, effectively having a white-collar match, but trying to pass themselves off as if they're professional fighters, but picking very selective with their opponents for a massive ego trip and earn a few quid. Like I say, listen, if they do that and they make money and it works, I'm fine. I'm not a hater. I'm just saying I've got no interest in it. And in terms of the clowns, I'm on about all this screaming and shouting and the slagging back and forth and all this like jumping out of rings and that. That's the clown carry on I'm on about.
But yeah, with that being said then, do you believe that this is a crossover, that the people watching the Misfits fighters will end up watching perhaps this weekend? Do you reckon that's actually the case or not?
No, I don't think, Peter, that's the argument a few people are saying. If it brings more eyes to the sport, but they're not bringing eyes to the sport. These eyes are following the Misfits. They're Misfit followers, they're not boxing followers. If these Misfits were playing a computer game against each other, they'd follow that. Do you know what I mean? They're not boxing fans, they're Misfit fans, so that argument's bullshit as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Matt, just to finish on that, I believe, and when they're calling out, you know, the likes of Canelo and all the rest of it, I think that's where it disrespects, you know, core boxing fans a little bit. But Matt, I know you got a shot for New Sky. Happy New Year. Thanks on the Boxing Social, mate.